Welcome to Movie Lounge. I'm your host, Stephen Wassung, and today we're getting to round 4, close to the semifinals of the Christmas movie bracket. And today we're going to get into a very interesting movie question. And so let's begin. So the movie question for today is from Kevin, and he writes, "What is your opinion of the best editing software?" So to start this off, what I mainly do is editing, and next to also camera operating, editing is my main forte of filmmaking. And it depends really what you want to get into and what you want to do as an editor. Editing is a very awesome career choice. It is pretty much where most directors come from because you're creating the story all at once. You're getting all this data, all this footage, hours of footage, and you got to create it all. You got to put it all together. So editors get very much thrown under the blanket, as I should say, because it's probably one of the most technical jobs out there and very anal jobs. It's a pain in the ass job at sometimes, but it's a love-hate relationship that I have with it, and I love it. But editing, it comes down to pretty much what computer you're using and what you're used to. Pretty much for example, for people who film, they always have a specific camera they like to do. I like Canon because that's how I pretty much started operating on cameras, is Canon. So when it comes to low-end cameras, Canon is what I tend to go for. Other people, Nikon, and so on. So there's really, I would say 4 main editing software that kind of battle it. You have the juggernaut Avid, and then you have next would be the Adobe Premiere Pro, then either between Sony Vegas and Final Cut Pro. Now, the interesting thing about Final Cut Pro is it's not as big as what most people think, because most of the industry uses PC or Windows or Microsoft and I can't think of the other one, but it tends to be very heavy on the Microsoft just because of the power and the resource it can provide for filming. Right now, for kind of the in the middle to high-end filmmaking, Adobe tends to be more picked over most. The bigger stuff, like Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. I'm not saying Lord of the Rings uses Avid, but Avid tends to be more of the high-end because of what it brings. It has more stuff to offer, or it has much better stuff to offer, as I should say. Adobe has After Effects and has all these other stuff that really work well both on an Apple and a PC. Not saying Apple is terrible at it, it's just PC is much more easier to work with when it comes to filming. And a lot of people, there's a stupid debate that PC is better, or Mac is better with anything compared to PC. PC is, if you're gonna game, of course use PC. If you're gonna I would say if you're gonna do the music industry, Mac is a lot better for that. But when it comes down to filming, PC tends to be a lot better, and it's just they've always done that. And Final Cut isn't technically, as far as I know, and don't quote me on it, Final Cut Pro isn't a part of Apple anymore. They just use the product, and Apple is, I think someone else owns Final Cut Pro now. Because Final Cut Pro used to be really good, and it had a lot of good stuff to it, like Final Cut Pro 7. I liked a lot of stuff what Final Cut did. I learned a lot of it in college when I was doing editing. But something about Adobe that I love is they build things and they make things for the customers, for the consumers. And Adobe went on this weird, crazy, strange journey, I should say, to and it just wasn't good. And then they started doing the Adobe Premiere the CS4, which was glitchy. CS5 was okay, and then you get to like CS6, and then it opens up new doors, and everything is just very integrated, and I can switch from one thing to another thing. So if I'm doing like rendering one shot here and I do After Effects, I can do that simultaneously, no problem whatsoever. And then Adobe kind of just pretty much just put Final Cut Pro in the dust, because Final Cut Pro at that moment was just, it was gaining momentum, and it became much bigger because it was cheaper. And that, and then when Adobe CC came out, it pretty much brought back Final Cut, and then Adobe took off, and it became very cloud based, and it just was such a genius idea. And that's the other thing. It also depends on the price you want to pay. Final Cut and Sony Vegas are very reasonable price. Sony Vegas is awesome. They've gotten really good at doing 2K, 4K, 3D, everything. And so has Final Cut Pro, and everything, the top 4 contenders are all doing really well. And so then you also have Sony Vegas, Final Cut Pro, reasonable price, very good for what they do. Adobe is much higher end in the 2000. Well, if you're going to do the cloud now, it's $50 a month, but before the cloud, it was like $2,000 to own it, and then like $4,000 or something like that for the master collection where you have everything in Adobe. And then Avid is just way out there with prices beyond anything. So, yeah, that's a cluster of the idea of editing and softwares and stuff. It's a preference, really. It comes down to it. I like Adobe. I'm going to probably stick with Adobe. And if I work with Avid, I work with Avid. Avid is very backwards compatible. It can be confusing and frustrating at times. And yeah, it depends on what you like and what you're interested in. If you have a Mac, stick with Final Cut or get Adobe. Adobe works really good with Final Cut, or Apple. If you use PC, Adobe, or even Sony Vegas, it just all comes down to it. And don't edit on a laptop in big projects. I edit the show on a laptop because it's small and it's easy to do. But if you're editing on a big scale, do desktop. Desktop. It's a lot easier to do it that way, and it's much powerful. So yeah, this can go back and forth, but it's just that's the preference that I have, and you may like the preference I have, or you may have a different one. That's totally fine. Everyone's different in their ways. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I know that was a very scattered realm of answering it, but we're gonna get into round 4, and this is the top 8 movies. So we come down from 30 to 8. And we're cutting down the tournament sooner because Christmas is coming, and I want to get the number 1 movie going for that in this bracket. So we have seed number 16 in bracket AA. Seed number 16, Die Hard against seed number 9, Charlie Brown Christmas. Bracket AB, seed number 20, Santa Claus against seed number 28, Christmas Story. And bracket AC against seed number 34, National Lampoon Christmas Vacation against seed number 7, Home Alone. And then we have bracket AD. So that one is seed number 19, It's a Wonderful Life, against seed number 22, Miracle on 34th Street, the 1999 version. There are some ridiculously good movies in this. And it started off easy, just like every bracket, and then it just got ridiculously hard. Like Die Hard against Charlie Brown. Those two are really good. Like, some of these are my all-time favorites against each other. Like, you have National Lampoon Christmas Vacation against Home Alone. And that's going to be a tough one because the adults are going to like National Lampoon, and then the kids are going to like Home Alone. So this is becoming really cool. And I cannot wait until the finals to see who are the top, or not the semifinals, who are the top 4 teams. So yeah, that is the show for today. If you guys have any questions, you want to submit your questions, you can go to the email at themovielounge15@gmail.com. And you can go to the Facebook account, Twitter account, the website, and you can just submit your questions. Or you could, if you find me on Facebook, you can send me a Facebook message and just send me questions, and we'll definitely get to them and then answer them. We love your questions, and we hope to get more of your questions so we can just help you guys become really good filmmakers. You guys have a great day.